Hey everyone, welcome back to Safe Space. My name's Buse and I'm here with my friend Jessica today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Jessica. So you guys probably never seen me before, but the way I know Buse is through our mutual friend Selena.
She was in one of the other episodes, so I'm sure you guys can go back and look at who we're referring to.
She has curly hair.
Yeah.
You'll know exactly who she is.
Curl queen. Curly hair queen.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny how I met Selena. We actually met through Instagram.
I didn't know this.
Yes. We actually met through Instagram. We always had, we're both Scorpios and we both have similar styles. So she would always comment on my pictures and tell me how she loves that outfit I'm wearing, and I'll do the same back and forth. And we kind of just started talking to each other through the DMs.
That's so funny.
So that's how we met. And we both went to the same college, and we never met in college, even though we're the same age and everything, but we met through Instagram. So
it sounds like a dating story more than a friendship story.
I know. I tell Selena this all the time.
DMs each other's DMs.
That's literally what happened. And we were talking about it because we said we never met friends through that way. So it was actually really interesting that we met through that way. And then we actually kind of did have a first date because when we asked to meet up, we met up at this Mexican restaurant, and it was so weird because we never met each other, so it was so
I didn't know that.
Yes,
this is actually interesting, but you never know who you're gonna meet and when and how. So I feel it is true that with the age of social media that you're introduced to people more online, but also that you guys met that way and then still kept the friendship going. It's kind of interesting because you don't hear that too often.
And I feel that doesn't usually happen for me, to be honest, because I think I did meet one other person off Instagram, but we're not as close as me and Selena are. Yeah. So I guess it really depends on who you vibe with and stuff like that. Yeah. But skip forward, how about how I know Buse now? So I actually met Buse not too long ago. It was actually at Selena's previous birthday party.
She's probably 6 months ago.
6 months ago.
I think exactly about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And it feels like I've known you for a little bit longer, but we only met that one time. And this is our second time being in person.
I know.
So it's kind of a little bit odd to get into such deep conversation. But also I think it's good because it'll open both of us up and feel more comfortable in a way. And I don't know, I'm a deep person, and I feel
I'm like that too. I'm like that too. So. And I feel that's why we bonded so well, because first we went to the restaurant, and I felt I told you before, I'm really private, so you actually made me feel really comfortable opening up to you.
Yeah.
So
girl, stop. You're no, but that really means a lot because a lot of people will tell me that I make them feel comfortable even upon first meet, and I don't realize that I have that welcoming presence or energy.
For sure.
And I appreciate when I hear it because I realize more and more recently that, including myself and other people, we need to give ourselves more credit for these things. The energy that you have, the aura that you bring, and the light energy that you bring to places is just, it's unmatchable. And if you have that, it's you should embrace and be thankful for it, and that people can open up to you so easily. I think it's not something that everyone has. But anyway, I get
no, you just gave off you're just non-judgmental, and I'm really I like that vibe because I don't like when I feel there's this stigma that girls are always supposed to be competitive against each other, or someone thinks they're better, when I feel we all go through issues in life. So if you have another girl that's a friend that's willing to hear you out and actually is trying to help you, that's important.
It is. And also I guess we can we kind of chatted a little bit, but the main topic, I guess we're still kind of already talking about it, and we'll get more into it, is self-care. So we'll start with that, and then we'll venture off into our experiences of how we take care of ourselves and in every area, in every part of our lives, but just getting more into that. So
yeah, of course.
You can keep going with what you were saying, but I just wanted everyone to be aware of the topic we're talking about, and I'll probably...
It's not just about how we met, we promise.
So I'll put that in the title of the podcast episode, but we can just keep going with it.
Oh, and by the way, guys, I forgot to mention this. I did go to the Knicks game yesterday, so if my voice sounds a little rusty, because I was screaming. So I'm trying, but I hope you guys understand me.
Yeah.
So basically what Buse was saying about self-care, I feel like we kind of like bonded over the fact that we feel like we tend to like put others before ourselves, and we have to kind of find this balance when it comes to taking care of ourselves also. So I guess like self-care for me, well, I am a nurse, so I feel like it can get really overwhelming.
It is.
I like started my nursing journey like during the middle of the pandemic, so that was already
Chaotic.
like
Very
that was already crazy, and like we were going into something so unexpected, so that kind of like threw me off. And like I'm a perfectionist. I don't know about you.
I try not to be.
I know. And it like, so I wanted like everything to go like amazingly. I'm like, this is my first like real big girl job, like, but I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. And like, you know, like I had previous jobs in my past, but this is like, you're responsible for other people's lives. And so it was kind of nerve-wracking. And then I definitely had a lot of pre-shift anxiety going into work when I first started, because I felt like there was so much going on. We were short staffed at the time, just like really overwhelmed. And I know there was like a point where like I would go home and think like, is this for me anymore? Because I would just be so like overwhelmed. But if anyone out there is interested in nursing, I want to let you know that it does get better. The more you do it, it does get better. And like things just become like second nature to you. Like I'm about to go into my second year soon.
I was actually about to ask how long has it been since you started, because I think that makes a huge difference, especially with what you said, like with your first like big girl job. I felt that too, as I went into corporate for the first time. Took me, and also I work from home, so it took me about almost 2 years to get to a point where I was like, okay, I can ease into it. Like I can relax. I can, like, I already knew what I was doing on a daily basis. Like I had my routine down. But that took so long because it's like there's more at stake. Like there's more to lose now. Like you are, as an adult, you're supposed to provide more for yourself, do things more for yourself. You can't rely or like look to other people for like financial help, or I mean, I guess you can, but not 100%. Like you still have to pick up the slack, you still have to take responsibility. So it comes to a point where, you know, you have to like reflect on, you know, is like, this is something that if I lose, that's going to impact so much more of your life. So.
So I completely agree with you, because like also then you're like, you went to college, you got this degree for this job, and you're like, oh, like, so this is your life now. And so like I said, it does get better, but I also realized that I couldn't make this my whole life. Like I had to find other things on the side to help me. So like one of my big self-care things I do like, which I hated when I was younger, is reading. I find like it's so weird now, like when I go out and like say I'm at a party or something, like I can't wait to get home to like read. It's like the weirdest thing now to me. And I know it sounds boring, but I think it was because I wasn't finding the right books. And I love a good like book that keeps you on your toes. So I feel like that's really important to me. Like even on my days off, not even doing that much, but just like reading, or like I love to drive. So like I drive everywhere. Like just going on a car ride and listening to music is like, it just calms me down so much. And just going to Starbucks. We actually have our Starbucks right now.
I think it's therapeutic. Like everything that you're saying, like I was actually reflecting on this either yesterday or today, I don't remember, but I was thinking how like I have such a like inherited, or what is the word for it? I can't remember it, but I have this like routine set for like my self-care in a way that's like, if I am stressed, it's almost like automatic that my mind knows what to do now. Like whether that's going by the water, or like somewhere that has like nature where you could just like sit or like relax. Even if it's by yourself, like I'm mostly by myself actually. I enjoy and I relax more better by myself.
I love that too.
So in a way, it's like you have to know when you're feeling a certain way, or when you're stressed, when you're overwhelmed, or let's say something big happened in your life and now you have to deal with that, and whatever it is that you're going through in that moment, you have to come up with a plan, and every time something happens you have to go back to that, so that you have to know that you can rely on your own self-care routine on your own self to get back to like
yourself.
Yeah, get back to yourself. Exactly. Yeah, I was gonna say like a healthy place, but I think get back to yourself is probably like good too. Yeah, because it's so hard to like manage all of life all the time. It's so hard to.
It is.
Like, especially with my schedule, I'm sure you feel this way. I'm sure other people do too. But with like having so much on your plate and running around all the time, having to tend to other people's needs at times, and like you as a nurse, you mentioned like you have to take care of other people, and so like you're inclined to do that on a daily basis, where you're like your mind is constantly trained to take care of others, and then when you have to turn back to yourself, you're like, whoa, wait, like you have to pause for a minute, and then you have to reflect and take that time to you know, take care of yourself, because otherwise you're gonna constantly be overwhelmed, constantly stressed, and it just takes a toll on you. Life doesn't like get any easier. It's like, you know how there's a saying that goes, life doesn't get easier, you just get stronger. I think it's true. You have to teach yourself ways to take care of yourself in whatever way, even if that's physically or spiritually or mentally,
of course,
psychologically. Like I myself like go to therapy, right? So like that's me taking care of myself emotionally and mentally in some way, and then physically, like I go to the gym like 3 to 4 times a week. If I can't go, I don't beat myself up for it. I just tell myself I'll get back on my schedule next week. Or for example, I'm thinking like in other ways. I mentioned spiritually, like I will meditate, right? Like I will journal, I will meditate.
She's a spiritual queen.
Yeah.
And we kind of get along with that too, because I'm kind of like that also. No, but I completely agree with you when you said that like you like having that alone time also, and that's where you feel like the most comfort, kinda, because I'm kind of a mix. I'm an introverted person and an extroverted person, and I feel like when I'm extroverted, I want to go hang out with my friends, but my social battery also dies really fast.
Quick, yeah.
It really does, and I love my friends, and they know this about me. The ones that I'm really close with, they kind of know when I'm starting to become a little standoffish, and I try to make it like a point that like I'm not like, it's nothing against you. This is just like I need to unwind by myself, and like, you know. So, but I love going out with them. I do think it's a form of self-care also, because, you know, I feel like laughing and just being with the people that you like gets you the most is a form of self-care, because social interaction is important too.
Yeah.
But then also like I love coming home and being like in my own bed and just like watching Netflix, or just like taking in like everything that's going on like during my like day that just happened. Like, you know, I feel like it's good to have like that balance between going out and also having your alone time.
And it's interesting you mentioned this now, and I think we were talking about this before we started recording too. I have, for example, like I have school and work, and especially when I start my semester and towards the end of the semester, I just get so overwhelmed with like projects, and like for work we have projects, but for school I have exams, projects, and other things too, and it just gets mentally like draining. Like of my course, brain is, even if my physical body is able to get up and do stuff, mentally I just feel so exhausted. So I physically feel okay, but mentally I just feel so drained. So even interacting with people in a social setting, even if I know them really well, even if they're like my closest friends, it feels overwhelming and it feels stressful. But I also realized recently that as much as I take care of myself and I isolate and I do all these things to like take care of myself, I realize in a way that, you know, maybe I'm at a point right now in my life that I realize I isolate too much, that I need to go out more and do so, like I need to socialize more. Doesn't have to mean that I hang out with people every week or whatever, but I need to keep making plans and not just go like be off grid for a while from my friends and then be like, hey, I popped up.
I know. So, and I feel like there's like this stigma that like when you kind of like go off grid, you're considered a bad friend. But in my eyes, like I feel like your friends, like everyone's different, and I feel like you have to take that into account, that more people are more social than other people. But then when it comes down to something, you're always going to be there for your friend. Like if it's something serious, but then your friend should also understand that there's some times where you just don't want to speak all the time, and like that's just your personality, and I don't think it makes you a bad friend, because if it came down to it, and they wanted to speak to you about something important, or like they're going through something extreme in their life, of course I'll like jump over bridges for them.
Yeah.
But I don't think it necessarily makes you a bad friend being a quiet friend. You know, like there has to be that mutual understanding that, you know, like there's still love there, but you guys don't always need to be communicating.
And you know, I did notice that about you, in terms of, even though we don't talk that often and we don't necessarily hang out or even in groups that one time, and then this is the second time that we actually see each other in person. But what I did notice about you, which is admirable too, like you allow people the space that they need, but you also take the time that you need. I observe people a lot, even if it's like our interaction was just through text before this, or like trying to plan when we were gonna meet to record and stuff. And even through that interaction, like it is something I notice, and it's good that you don't just take that time for yourself, but you allow other people to do that.
Yeah.
And also you mentioned that, you know, that you think that makes you a bad friend. I honestly think that's such a negative stigma, but in my mind, I think allowing people the space that they need and being patient with them and like letting them take the time, even if they're really upset and they don't want to talk to anyone, letting them deal with their emotions at that time when they're upset by themselves is like showing them so much love and patience.
Exactly.
That everyone needs, that I feel like a lot of people don't allow for other people to like take that time and space.
I know.
And it's so necessary. It truly is.
I feel like it really is. And then like kind of like our bond, I feel like you kind of like, even though we only met twice and this is literally our second time, like we just kind of had like we kind of have a general understanding of each other. Like I think you like wished me like Merry Christmas once, or like it was like a holiday or something. I don't remember exactly what. And like we didn't really speak back, like I don't want to say constant like every week or whatever, but like
New Year's Eve actually.
New Year's Eve maybe.
I think so.
But I still felt like, you know, there was still love there. They still like remembered to wish me that, even though we don't speak every day. So like I did notice that.
Yeah.
And also like I feel like we kind of just understood that like life happens. Like I know like you're in school, like you kind of gave me like a heads up, like you have exams this week, so maybe we can't film this week or something like that. And like there was something personal in my life that was going on, and I let you know like we had to kind of change the date, and you were like really understanding about it. And I feel like some people would just kind of like jump on you and just be like, oh, like, so like now we got to change the plans. Like you don't really like prioritize this, or like, but like I said, life happens, you know, plans change.
And that allowing, like coming back to like what you're saying and what I was saying, kind of connecting the two again, it's kind of like allowing people the space to get whatever they need to get done, whatever they need to handle in their personal life. To do that is like the most loving thing I think you can do.
Exactly.
As humans, our needs change. We all need space and patience and love sometimes, where we need to be more graceful with other people, but with ourselves as well. And you know, and you also mentioned something before, saying that like taking time, like it feels selfish, and I felt that for the longest time, right? And I was thinking, so like I was feeling so guilty and even like shameful of I was actually watching a podcast before we recorded, and the person on the podcast mentioned like guilt is when you wonder like, am I doing something wrong, or like what, like you ask yourself that. And then shame is like, is there something wrong with me? It's kind of like more internally focused. It's not about action. So it kind of fuels each other when like the external factors in your life are really impacting you in a way that you start to feel like you're being selfish by taking time to yourself. But as life goes on, things don't get easier. You have more responsibility. You start to build a life that's more like, has a bigger foundation. You have to be able to carry that foundation. And in order to be able to do that, like you need more time to yourself, sometimes to recharge, sometimes to go off grid from people and just take time. Like even with work, for example, you have to take time for time off for vacation, like for example, you know, and you can't always be there for people either, because it's like, it's not that you don't love them, like you mentioned earlier too. It's like you have that love, you have that caring like heart, and you know that you do. And at times it's kind of like us showing up for other people is like us kind of trying to prove to ourselves in a way that
we're good people. I know exactly what you mean by that, because then I start feeling like I'm a bad person, even though I know I've done so much for a lot of people. And sometimes I wish I can get back what I give.
Yes.
And I feel like...
Gonna get me emotional.
Oh my God, stop. Don't get emotional. Like, I cry a lot too, so please don't.
Yeah. But it's true.
Yeah, I know. And then I feel like since I do give a lot, sometimes all I expect back is just the little things.
Yeah.
The little things mean a lot for me. Mm-hmm. So once I see that, like, someone was like thinking about me or did something to just like make my life easier, like I would want to make theirs, that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we're both kind of like pretty independent women, and like we give ourselves, like we can give ourselves a lot.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but like it's the little things that we appreciate the most because we already know that we can give ourselves a lot. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I just have to remember that sometimes we deserve to feel loved also, and we deserve to also receive, you know?
Yeah.
We can't just keep on giving, because like you said, like we can't pour out of an empty cup.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned with my profession, like I'm taking care of people all day, that like when I come home, like I can't always take care of the world even on my days off, you know?
Yeah. And that's when it starts to get overwhelming in a way that, you know, you start to deteriorate, and like your mental health starts to spiral down, and your physical health starts to spiral down. And we see this in so many people. Like I experienced this myself at times where I'm just like overwhelmed, but everything starts to spiral down. Yeah. And if I don't stop in that moment and take time to myself, even if that means like 10 minutes that day, whatever I can squeeze in, that like 5-10 minutes, it's just an expression of like self-love, but in a way like it kind of goes back to what you mentioned, but also like taking care of yourself in a way that like fulfills you first, and that you fulfill other people's needs. And it's a balancing act for sure. And now we started talking about how to balance, like, you know, you don't people please, but you also take care of yourself. And it's really tough because like even with setting boundaries, right, as I was mentioning before, like your needs change over time, and people's needs change over time. Everyone has a different schedule, different routine that they have going on, different needs, whatever it is, and those constantly change.
Of course, yeah.
And people are complex. We all function differently. We all have different upbringings. Even people that grow up in the same family might have different perspectives on life, and like all of these things like clash at times. Sometimes it's very harmonious and things are great, and then other times it gets very chaotic. And you have to, like, you know, I'm kind of saying like you have to in the general terms, but kind of like go within and reflect on what is it that like you need in that moment to take care of yourself. And then also once you do that, like you can recognize what you need at different times, and the more and more you do that, you kind of like tune into more of your intuition. And I feel like
intuition's so important. I feel
it is. It's just like your body's way of telling you this is what you need, you know? And you start to like tune into other people too. And it's not, it's kind of like practice. It's like a learned skill, but it happens over time. And it's definitely not, especially people like us being very like caring and wanting to help people all the time, take care of people. And I tend to do a lot, but I think the only difference that we have right now is like I have like really pushed my boundaries on people in a way that like it pushed me away from some people, but in a healthy way, because even though like it hurts to distance yourself from people at times when you can't take care of them, like when you can and you show back up in a way that's like you can fill their cup again, I feel like that's like so much more loving to me, like if someone does that than just trying to pour into me all the time, and when they don't have anything to give, because I feel like that's when it starts to like
then you feel like it's no longer 50-50, it's more like
I mean, even if it doesn't have to be like 50-50, right? But I don't know, if you're constantly at low energy and you don't have like
you don't show me that you actually care about me, you know, that you have genuine intentions, you know? And I relate that and I relate to that too, because like you said, you're very observant, and I'm very observant also. And sometimes I think like you said, we're not perfect, and I feel like I'm still growing and learning about myself, and I'm not I think I bring this problem onto me because I say like people hold me responsible, but I think I hold myself responsible a little more than they do. Yeah. Like I feel like I'm supposed to be in control, and like I want things to go a certain way, so I take responsibility, and like I think that's kind of what happens too. But I have to realize that like the world's gonna go on and I can't control everything. Yeah. So it's not my job to make everyone's problems my responsibility. Yes. Because at the end of the day, like I can try to be in control, but it might not work out, you know, because things don't work out the way we want it to. Yeah.
And you know, it's funny you mentioned this because I think a lot, and you're right, we are both very observant. I noticed that too. So I was gonna mention, like I was thinking earlier how I like to have everything in a routine, and it's like, it's in a way, if you think about it, it is a form of control. Like having a set routine and following that every day, it is a bit of control that we try to like impose on our lives. Yeah. And when something unexpected happens, things can go
like
wrong.
Chaotic.
Yeah, it can get pretty bad. And I was just thinking, like I've been reflecting on my life recently, and just realizing that I need to be more in flow with like the changes that come and go, because I am like hurting myself more and more by trying to impose like these ideas I have on a life that is not meant to be so structured. Yeah, like and when you like, for example, if you talk to like older people, like grandparents or anyone that you could ask about life and like what they have learned and their lessons and stuff, they always do say like enjoy yourself and like take you know, enjoy the time that you have, and the like don't take things so seriously and just go with the flow of things, you know.
I'm so serious sometimes, and I hate it because like I feel like people that know me, like they see that I'm really like, I have my really fun moments and I love to like go out and party and like have fun and stuff, but at the end of the day, like the way my mind thinks, my mind, like I have like I guess different personalities. And I feel like if you really know what goes on in my mind, I'm a very logical person. So I kind of have to make sure like 1 + 1's adding up. Like I can't just make a rash decision, because like you said, like we love being in control. So we really try to like, I guess like think what's the perfect way to go about something. Yeah. And then we kind of set ourselves up for destruction when it doesn't go that way.
Actually, you said you're very like rational and logical in your mind and how you like process things. I recently kind of came to the realization that like not in a crazy way, but I feel like, you know, when you talk to yourself in your head, like you kind of like trying to bounce ideas off of like you know your different like perspectives, and maybe because I tend to think a lot and like meditate and journal, that I have so many different like voices in my head that like, or perspectives or ideas, let's just say. That I didn't mean like voices, that's why I said I don't want to sound like I'm crazy.
We're not crazy, we promise.
but like I was just trying to ask you, like, do you have like the more, sometimes I have like the really like immature like YOLO type of mindset in my mind, and I'm like, you know what, it doesn't even matter what happens, I could just do this. And then the other part of me will be like, no, you can't do that because you have this other things to consider. I have like, it's funny because
two different personalities.
Not even just two, there's more than that.
No, I feel like that too. I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Because I feel like we're such responsible people, and we want to like take responsibility and like show up as responsible. Like that's how we want to be perceived. So like a lot of my coworkers, when they see me out and when I go out with them, they're like, this is not the same Jess from work. Because with work, I'm so serious. Like I have to get things done. Like I can't joke around, like, and I feel terrible because that's not who I really am. Yeah. Well, that is who I am. That's a part of who I am, but that's not different. Yeah. It's a different version of me, but that's not just who I am. There's different parts of me and I have to realize that. Yeah. Because sometimes I kind of like beat myself up for showing people like, oh, I'm being so uptight. Like, why is she acting like this? Like. And I don't want to come off as that, but like, you know, at the same time, like that's my personality. Like I need to like make sure like everything's set before I can have fun, you know?
And you know, it's something that I think I struggle with too. I'm currently trying to incorporate all parts of me into who I am, so that I don't show different. I mean, sure, like you're gonna filter some parts of yourself in different situations. You can't 100% be like open book all the time. I think it's also for your own safety that you should like sometimes keep certain things personal and private. But
like you said, you're spiritual, I'm spiritual, so like we believe in that like evil eye type of thing. Like you don't want to show everything.
Yeah, and I don't think everyone should know everything. They shouldn't. And so I feel like incorporating all parts of that into your personality in a way that you feel like you can express yourself at any moment and every moment. But I think I'm kind of like that too. I think we're very similar in that way. If I'm at work, I'm like, this is work, and there's no time for chit chat. There's no time for
gotta get it done.
Mode. If I'm at the gym mode. Like nobody talk to me. I'm gonna have to work out and leave. Like wherever I am, it's so like structured. And maybe what we were talking about with like having control and like being so structured. Maybe it kind of applies there too. In a way, maybe we like kind of in my mind structure things too. I don't know if you do this as well, but like even when I process emotions, it's really hard for me to process. Like I feel deeply, but it's hard for me to express them. So what happens is like I feel like I have like these drawers in my head that I'm like, okay, like this bad experience happened in my life, now I gotta cry, now I like pull that drawer out, and like mentally this doesn't happen like obviously physically, but I'll just like pull that drawer out and then reflect on like all of the other things, and maybe this is why I spiral down. It's probably not good, and maybe I'm having a revelation in this moment, but you get my point. Like I start to like look at everything else that kind of reminds me of this specific experience that happened in my life, and then I organize and structure my emotions around whatever happened, put that in the file cabinet, close that, and then doesn't open again until another experience happened.
I know what you mean, because it's weird. Like you said, you feel so much, but it's hard, but we like to come off as responsible and strong. We always want to be perceived as that. So and I think that's why we love just going off grid and being in our own little space, because we don't want to show people that we have all these emotions, because we want to be perceived as the responsible one. We want to show them that we can always hold any challenge that comes to us. We're serious, we're strong. But literally, like, I hate, like, I'm a big crybaby, but I hate to cry in front of people. But then the tears come out, you know, like sometimes it just comes out of nowhere, or like sometimes like I just want to go in my room and like just cry by myself, you know, like, and I feel like we lock, like you said, you put it in a file cabinet and you just like push it away, because like we lock up our emotions so much until they have no choice but to come out.
And you know what's crazy is I think we're very similar. I swear, with like emotion, like handling emotions. I think
it's our Capricorn moon.
I think so too. Like I will go through some really shitty things in my life, right? And like I'll be crying every day. No one knows. No one at work knows. No one. None of my friends will know. Like even people I'm really close to, and then I meet up with them in person one day. We make plans, and I tell them all of the shit that's been going on in my life, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Who say like we didn't even know." I am so good at concealing and like covering. Like, I know. Like I could cry here in this moment and then go out, step outside, and like put on a face that nobody would know I cried. And it's kind of like, it's kind of what we're talking about in terms of like showing different versions of ourselves. I think in a way, like what we were talking about with like safety, don't share everything with everyone. I think it's a form of like emotional safety by protecting ourselves, but it could also, I feel like it also closes us off from actually experiencing close connections and being vulnerable with people, because when you don't show that part of yourself, there's nothing that other people can connect to on that emotional level.
And then people think we're so like closed off. I mean, because we are, but they don't know that we actually feel so much and like we care so much. And I think that's our problem. We care a little too much, like we're speaking about. This is why like self-care is so important. Like, getting back to the main topic. But another thing that I really like to do, I know you said you like to journal, so I got into this thing called the 5-minute journal. I got I don't know if you've heard about it.
I don't think so,
but I got it off Amazon. I haven't been that consistent recently with it, but I know there was a point in my life where like I was really stressed out. I'm pretty sure it was during nursing school. And it's like you list, every day you wake up, you list 3 things you're grateful for, you list 3 affirmations, and you list like 3 things that would make today great for you.
Yeah.
And like I felt like it helped me be a little more present because I feel like
can you repeat that part again? I just want to make sure I caught
yes.
it.
So the journal, okay, so like every day when you wake up, there's a part that says list 3 things you're grateful for, 3 affirmations, and 3 ways that today would like you would want something to happen today that would make your day or something like that. Like 3 things that would make today go well for you. And then the end of the day, you would have to go back and you would write the 3, it doesn't have to be the exact 3 things that you wish for, but just 3 things in general that went well for you today. And something, I guess, like, I don't remember exactly because I haven't used it in a while. And I think it was just like something you learned today or something like that. It's very simple. Like it's like a bullet thing. You just jot down things really fast.
And that's supposed to be within 5 minutes?
Yeah, that's why it's called the 5-minute journal, but I don't know. I don't really count the minutes, but it's a really quick process. And I felt like that helped me a lot because when I'm really stressed out and I feel like I can't put myself first that day, just putting like things into perspective that you're grateful for, you really realize that you have so much. And it could be the smallest thing. Just like I would probably write like, oh, so like something that like made me happy today when like unwinding my day. I'll be like, I went and got my Starbucks today, and that would make my whole day. Like just like knowing like I did something that made me happy today.
Yeah.
And it just like puts a lot of things into perspective because I think we focus so much on the big things and we don't really focus in the present moment and the like, little things that we're really that
actually I think count more than the big things. Yeah. Because I think in my last episode, or the one before, maybe 2 episodes ago, I talked about how in order to climb a mountain, you have to take the first step and then the next step after that and then the next step. So it is about the daily things that you do, the small things that you do, like your 5-minute journal, or whatever else, like getting Starbucks that day. Like it's little things that you do on a daily basis that when you look back on your life, the consistency, the effort that you put into it is like this huge mountain of like foundation that you built that you realize 5 years from now.
Exactly.
Or whatever that is.
Exactly. So, or it's like, it could be like a small little like, something I'm grateful for, like a small little like, I would write down like a small like compliment that like my patient gave me today or something like that. Just like so when you look back and you like really like reflect, you're like, okay, like, your life isn't as bad as you really think it is. Like there's something to be grateful for even if you don't like have all the big things that you like aspire for yet, you know?
So I guess coming back to what you were saying with the 5-minute journal and then taking, writing down certain things that happened throughout your day that you're like grateful for, things that made you happy and things like that. It's super helpful like on a daily basis to recognize the good things that happen because it kind of creates this positive, optimistic outlook on life, and it helps you build like better, I don't want to say character, but like you show up to the world, to other interactions with people in a better light, and you give back to people the same like good energy that you might receive from some, and then you give that all back to other people. So it kind of like helps you, but it helps other people too, and it just creates this like better positive perspective on everything.
For sure.
So,
I try to like make my friends get into it too, because like, but they like sometimes you can't help but be pessimistic. I felt like the reason why I even got it, I felt like, let me just give it a try. You don't really think it's gonna help, but when you really look back at it, you're like, wow, like this was actually a really good day, or like this was a really good moment that happened, you know?
And also I do realize as I got more into like my spiritual, more like self-help journey, I guess you can say, like self-improvement journey, I realized that sometimes like you start to change your perspective on life, and then you want other people around you to see the same thing or realize the same things, but you also do recognize that not everyone sees the same things that you do all the time, and they don't go through the same changes at the same time that you do. So even if I do want to sometimes bring like my friends or the people around me on my journey with me. I'm like, look, there's all these good things happening. I'm like, come along, but it doesn't always work out or play out that way. So I feel like it's definitely one of those.
It's like a personal journey, I feel.
It is.
Like everyone has their own thing. Like I know whenever I tell my friends about zodiac, some of them are like, "Do you ever talk about anything else?" I'm like, "Yes, I do." Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like it depends on who you are, and like I feel like there's not one way to go about like self-love and self-care.
That is true.
You know,
it is a very personal journey, and I guess maybe we can start like wrapping up, but maybe I'll ask a question so we can end it this way.
Okay.
Since we talked about self-care and like all these things about like how it impacts ourselves but other people, and like we talked about like tips and tricks on like how we take care of ourselves. Is there anything that you would tell yourself moving forward or tell other people on how they can better take care of themselves and also take care of other people?
I feel like you said this earlier. I don't know if it was off camera or on, but you said something about listening to yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like our bodies need things at different times, like you said. So I feel like just if you feel in that moment that you're getting overworked, you're getting overwhelmed, so just step aside and give yourself the time and care and nurturing that you need. And but then also like, don't feel that you can't also give, you know, like it's always important to give to others. This whole like podcast is not about like just focusing on yourself, but also like still continue to be the caring person that you are, but know your boundaries, you know?
Yeah.
So there has to be balance. So like I said, balance, the main lesson.
I think that perfectly summarizes everything that we talked about. But yeah, and thank you again for coming, because this is really great. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'll put if you want me to, I can put your Instagram in the description so that people can find you. So I'll do that. But thank you again for coming, and I guess for everyone watching, I hope you enjoyed the episode, the topic, and the conversation that I had with Jessica, and I guess I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.